I am tracker Gina Marie Rangel Quinones, field reporter, journalist.
I'm Robert Lundahl, filmmaker and storyteller. I stand up for human rights and the environment.
Good to be here. Welcome to Creative Frontline.
Welcome to Creative Frontline.
Stand up, stand strong, stand in. We are Creative Frontline.
Following a war for the West, when water became more valuable than gold, motivations were sometimes called into question.
Right now, as we speak, the government wants water. They want water. They're going to steal all of the Indian water rights. Research that. Look into that. Every Indian nation is affected by that. We can't live without water, but they want our water so they can have their golf courses and their manicured lawns and stuff like that. But yet we use water to plant, grow corn, potatoes, melons, squash, and feed our animals, the sheep, the horses, the cattle, and even the buffaloes, bison. They're right there with the Indian. They survived.
It was a massacre of epic proportions in California, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. And it is set into motion and characterized today by the control of water, and therefore the control of people.
Hemp has been explored as an alternative to lithium-based energy systems, particularly for battery technology. Research is focusing on creating hemp-based supercapacitors, which offers the potential to store and release energy much faster than traditional lithium-ion batteries. Hemp fibrous supercapacitors. Scientists have discovered that hemp fibers, particularly those from the plant's bast, the outer bark, can be transformed into graphene-like carbon nanosheets. These sheets are highly effective at conducting electricity and could be used as supercapacitors. Unlike lithium-ion batteries, which store energy chemically, supercapacitors store energy electrostatically, leading to faster charge and discharge cycles. Hemp is a renewable resource that grows faster and with fewer environmental impacts compared to the mining of lithium. It has also required fewer resources like water and pesticides, making it a more eco-friendly option in the long term. In contrast, lithium mining is energy intensive and can have significant environmental consequences, and we already see that on First Nations sacred lands, including water depletion, radiation, also pollution, and land degradation.
When I first heard about it, well, first of all, I'd like to do a big shout out to Max and Will. The first time I met them was at a community meeting in Arvada. And since then, Will kind of gave us a rundown of, what was going to be happening. And it scared me because I thought about, our water, the water that, we use pretty much for everything. It was, really peaceful out there, really, really peaceful. It was quiet, but now it's just all, slowly getting torn up. The lithium workers are out there and they're digging the water pipes to place those in there. And, my son and I, we've been out there, we've been watching them as they, slowly destructing the place. My son flies drones, so, we've been getting some clear shots of, what they've been doing.
talking about mining on public lands in the United States, there's a law, the 1872 General Mining Law, which makes it so that if a mining corporation locates valuable minerals on public lands, then the federal government has to give them permits to mine. This is not a discretionary thing. If there's valuable minerals there, the Congress has said that the highest and best use of American public land is mining.
Thacker Pass or Pahimaha in northern Nevada is a place where Paiute people were massacred and where people lived and hunted and gathered their foods and their medicines and traveled through for thousands of years. This place is under threat right now. The mining company Lithium Nevada is building a giant open pit lithium mine here.
The approval was given 4 days before Trump got out of office in a 9-month rush NEPA that went through during COVID.
They never did come down and consult with us about what was going on up here.
We know that these minerals, that some of them are more difficult to extract. We know that lithium, as far as we've heard from the industry, we've heard from researchers, it is a science. You know, it's not like you're just trying to separate gold or these hard metals from an ore. They got to take it from a liquid to a solid and then to a liquid, and it's very interesting. But I think a lot of this information, at least from the industry side, much of it is being characterized as intellectual property. Now that's where we're going to have some trouble, I think. And the reason why is because the communities have a right to be informed. We need to be informed as to what chemicals are being utilized and what kind of risk are there to release those chemicals into the air, into the water, into our land, that are going to have a harm into our environment, our entire ecosystem.
Well, there's a problem. And that problem we've seen at Thacker Pass and other places where mining and extraction have become very lucrative and are subsidized by companies and by the federal government in different ways. And here then we have Ash Meadows, which you described as being lush and beautiful and home to many species, where they're also considering some level of lithium mining.
They've been trying to come in. It's been about a year we've been fighting them. They were denied. They gave us a project plan, and BLM denied the first one, which is wonderful. They haven't turned another one back in. We've been to Washington, D.C. trying to get a mineral rights. We've talked to Congress. We've talked to the people in Beatty, the people of Armagosa, the community here. Park Service is with us as well. Because of the fact that if they just make one mistake drilling, it's going, one mistake isn't acceptable, because of the fact if they can't cap it, that's a possibility that we're going to lose water here and other places. And then to top it off, if they do drill and succeed, what's going to happen to the habitat? What's going to happen to the vegetation? They may say that it's going to adapt to it, but really, in reality, are they going to adapt to it in 5 years? Look at bottled water right now. When I was a kid, we drank water from hoses and creeks, and wherever you wanted to drink water, we were fine. But now you drink bottled water and you still feel dehydrated. Look at all the stuff that they're taking out of water now. It's sad, because all the minerals and stuff that they take out of the earth, they think isn't harming us in any way, and it is. And these the animals out there, it's fine now, but they haven't had time to adapt to it yet. In time, here in a little while, they're going to not be able to. Are they really going to adapt to it? Is the vegetation really going to grow back the way it was? And then look how they leave the land. They say, we put a $50,000 bond, but what is a $50,000 bond to them? They got millions of dollars. They're not even from the United States. Do they care what it looks like when they leave? They don't have to come back here. I know we have to have the lithium mines, but, be a little bit more, how would you say it, more maybe concerning when you go and pick someplace and research where you're choosing, because some of these places that you're choosing just isn't acceptable at all. I mean, no place is right, but we can't stop you on every place of, every piece of land. But some of this land, isn't for it.
It looks like with those boreholes, they're planning for some sort of extraction like they're doing at Salton Sea, of like sink a geothermal well at Salton, and then they bring up the water, and in a second stage, they extract the lithium. Is that where they're headed, to your knowledge?
That's possibly where they bring up the lithium and then they extract the water back down in a brine. And then the brime's like a thick clay. But what a lot of the places that I've gone and site visited at, there becomes a problem when the clay is in time, you're not going to be able to keep putting it down, and that clay hardens it down there, and you're not going to be able to push very much clay in there. They keep putting that brine down there, and how many holes are you going to have to dig to keep putting brine down? You say that it's going to be easy to put it back. It isn't going to be easy to put it back. And you're still not putting everything back in the ground as it is. So, and they say that they're not using very much water. That's not true. They're actually using quite a bit of water. It's like Rhyolite Ridge. They bought up a lot of the water rights out in Fish Lake Valley. Why do you need all the water rights if you're not going to use that much water?
100 miles outside of Las Vegas, deep in the desert, there's a $19 billion hole in the ground. There are many unresolved scientific issues relative to the suitability of the Yucca Mountain site. These issues include hydrology, inadequacy of proposed waste package, repository design, and volcanism. The Yucca site is seismically and volcanically active, porous, and incapable of geologically containing the waste. Yucca's aquifer drains to the Armagosa Valley, one of Nevada's most productive agricultural regions, and adjacent to the busy and growing Nellis Air Force Base, and is only 90 miles from our largest metropolitan area, Las Vegas.
In the U.S., the Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository has been a problematic and a divisive project. Local communities and the state of Nevada have both opposed to the project.
There is life, sacred lands, and sacred people who have been there for thousands of years.
My name is Johnny Bob, Yamba Indian Reservation, but I was born and raised off the reservation. I haven't just got up, did what I want. I always went out and listened to my elders. Elders was the most important thing in my life.
One of the elders he was referring to was Corbin Harney, Shoshone spiritual leader. At the ocean, there was a gathering where Corbin Harney had words to say.
Remember, the land owns us, we don't own it. We're born on it, we're gonna go into it again. The only way that we are gonna have the world know that we're struggling, try to keep our mother healthy, keep our water clean, keep our air clean, the beaches clean. We see a lot of things dying on the beach. We cannot let that happen. Let's save it for the younger generation, the future generation as they call it. They need our help today.
We go up there and pray. We go up there and make offerings with our food. We go over there wherever the burial grounds are in the mountains and offer tobacco, food, whatever. The Forest Service, BLM, and all the things that's happening on our land, like our mining, water being taken out, fracking, oil well drilling, more roads up in Planet Hills to use that water. They know how to use equipment. What is water to them? What is oil to them? What is food to them? What is everything they use for technology? What is it for them?
And there was a group of Chimwevis that had a village up there, and intermarried with all the other Southern Paiutes. And we all Nuwa, and when the people separated, the 29 Palms Band went south into the Mojave Desert and settled over at the Oasis Mara at 29 Palms, which was a Serrano village. And they allowed the Chimwevis to live there, and they coexisted. The Kauias also, and the Chimwevis extended down into the Coachella Valley and on around to San Bernardino. And thus came another group of our people called the Paiuchis, which settled in San Bernardino and up around the Cajon Pass up to the Mojave River, up towards Victorville and Barstow. And but at any rate, getting back to Ash Meadows, what was more inspiring and impressive to me was visiting the area, and then later on traveling across Death Valley en route to Bishop for a tribal council meeting with the Timbuktu Shoshone on behalf of the Friends of Amargosa Basin. And we were doing outreach to the tribes and forming a tribal coalition, which we're still doing, to help protect Amargosa Basin. But just visiting the area was just so impressive and inspiring to me. And then learning more about Amargosa Basin, and not only Devil's Hole and the pupfish and the Amargosa Vole, as well as the other minnow that's endangered up there. And then learning more about the lithium mining that was allowed by the BLM for the exploration studies. You know, that just irritated me.
They're digging for gold everywhere they can. For what? You know, what good is that? Eventually, all you're doing is for every sack full of gold that these people are getting, there's a place somewhere where they destroy the environment. They don't realize that. Somewhere, creatures, animals are dying. They don't know that. Somewhere out there, they could contaminate a lot of water. They don't know that. As long as they have that gold in their hand, they think that's good saving, that's good for their future. There will be no future if you keep doing that with the gold. And among other things that happen with that gold mine is also the lithium problem we're dealing with over here. Lithium's another thing. And I think that they don't care, because right now the geothermal out there, and plus the San Andreas fault over there that they're digging right near it, if they can go on until they can cause an earthquake. They can they can do a lot of damage. And so they really don't care. They just want whatever they can get out of there. And I think they know it, but it doesn't matter to them. But then, of course, it's the public that lets them do it. You know that the corporations have a lot of money. The people with the money are doing this. And I think the people with the money are also running the government. You know, they're doing that too. So they listen to them. And then the lowest one on the totem pole is the public. The public wants it because they think they're going to get money. They do want money. They do get. Matter of fact, they gave grants in Imperial Valley, grants to a lot of people, and so they bought their way in there. So those things happen. But also I think even the public, they are not from this area. They came from somewhere else, and if anything happens that it's no longer livable, they can just pack up and leave. But us, we came from here. We were here way before they came. So where can we go? All the creatures in the desert, they have no place to go either. They're going to die there. But it doesn't matter to the people. They want the gold. They want whatever they can get, the lithium, whatever. There's so many things that they do without any consideration to the future, what can happen, what will happen. And I think there are things that are happening in this world that they will not admit that there are things happening now. Well, one of the most famous things is the global warming. You talk about that. But the result of that are these storms and floods, and the weather is changing and everything is changing. That's because of what we did. I mean, the humans done. They're knocking the earth off balance, is what they're doing. There's no balance anymore. And I mean, if there's gold there, that's meant to be there. If there's lithium there, it's meant to be there. And they really don't know what they're doing too, I hear. They don't know what's going to happen. Experimental too, what they're doing. The community does not know the problems that we're having. They don't know. All they know is that you can get money and that's it. But the problems we have here, they don't know that. I mean, what we're talking about, like the environment, the destruction of the environment, and things like that, they don't know that. And all they want is money. They knew that. And for instance, I know that they move from place to place. When they deplete the area of certain things, they would move on. They would move on to another place and another place. Once they deplete the area of game, and let it build up again. Some people stayed. You can see that in our history, where we came from the north and we came down. We lived here and here and here, all the way down. But when we came to this area, for instance, it was underwater. And then when the water receded, we came down into Imperial Valley. They have archaeological studies done. They find artifacts. Also, when that receded and they came down, there were others who went along the mountains too. Went to Jacumba, to the ocean, by San Juan Capistrano, up towards the mountain again, by Palm Trees, then came back down south to Imperial Valley, into Yuma area. By that time, the Colorado River was flowing. But it took thousands of years for that to happen. I've heard that Russia is being accused of committing crimes against humanity. Well, that's been happening to us since they came to America. They've been committing crimes against us all these years that America's been here. And yet, they talk about somebody else. Yet America's been doing that to us. Look what they did to us. They piled rocks and made a V right along the shoreline. That V is showing a little opening in the water, but the water's in there too. So what they did was they would have a big circle, and they would all start making noise and whatever, and all the fish would come closer and closer. They got into that hole and went in there, and then they closed it. That's how they got their fish. And there's a lot of them over there on the west side, but of course it's long ago, so you can barely see them, but they're there, because I've seen them too. The Kenyan people were here. They were here in this area. Now, I remember one of the songs says, Matmuyao. Wow, Wai comes, Matmuyao means the land you know. Wai means given, has been given from Sioux. Matmuyao by Wai comes Sioux. The land you know has been given to you. That's what it's saying. To migrate, you can migrate. I mean, you can migrate in one day. The geese fly through here, could fly here to the one day in a migration. But I don't think we did that in one day. Yeah. I heard that some people went to court, natives, Winslow, Oak Flat, and the people that wanted the land told him that that land belonged to the government. They stole it. You know, I talk about our land and they say that BLM has it. Now, how did BLM get it? For instance, the gold mining. They say they're using claims that they bought from someone that were out there. And there's evidence we were there before that claim. I tell you the words, and I'll give you the melody, and you follow it. Okay? Can anybody remember the words I gave you? Come on. You heard me say, Matmuyao, how about we eat some soup? They can make any law to say that this is the way it's supposed to be, and then whatever you know is gone. The same thing that they're using religion. Our religion was before The Bible, I see. Our religion goes way back before they did. I asked about the religion once, the Bible, and said something like 2,000-3,000 years or something like that. Well, we go beyond that. He comes too. It doesn't take much courage and guts to sing this. You can do it. Okay? I'm going to sing it. We're going to sing it, and you'll get the melody. In California, the state of California, they wanted the land, they wanted the gold, so what did they do? They started shooting and killing the Native Americans in California. And then to make it worse, they enacted and passed laws that there was a bounty on them, and you can shoot them and kill them long as you bring them here. See, they made that law again. See, they did that too. Our belief is just as strong. Our belief was that area where the Salton Sea was, that there's some story about that. And that story, the old Kamiya of Imperial Valley, our belief was that the giant snake came in there from the ocean. It was a white snake, big giant snake. And he had black spots on the snake, and that was a repository of knowledge. Came into Imperial Valley and surfaced in the ocean there somewhere. I would think it would probably be Obsidian Butte. And they had a ceremony, but they built a little house there. And the snake went in there, and they closed him up, and he couldn't get out, and they burned it. All that, the bodies popped from the fire, and all that black spots, the repository of knowledge, left the body, went out, and went to all the mountains in the area. And there's some mountains around that area that it went to. There's one south of them called Eagle Mountain, and all to the north, and all the way to the west, and Oro Cruz, some of that went to those mountains too. Well, that's what we believe, what the Kamiya believe, and the Quetzal. But that doesn't mean nothing to them. You know, they expect us to believe in the Bible. So things like that happen, and I think it's wrong to even consider that their Bible is better than ours. That we should our belief doesn't mean nothing. But it shows that our Creator does not want to destroy everything. But according to their belief, it's okay to destroy. So which is better?
We continue with Water in the West, Cinema Verite radio documentary, highlighting voices of transformation, regeneration, and reconciliation.
There's a lot of well-known stories, legends, myths among indigenous people in the Western Hemisphere about the destroyers.
Like the beat of your heart, Mother Earth sends out a healing tone that hits your body and soul. It moves around inside of you. It has to be in the flow of life.
People like us in our civilization who come to destroy. And I've taken that to heart.
This is the hottest place on earth, Death Valley, California. Homeland to the ancient Timbishi Shoshone people.
My ancestors have been here forever. During the summer times, they would go higher up towards Wild Rose and get pine nuts and pick different foods up that way and do the hunting and stuff. And then they would travel back down during the cooler months, or they would head towards Beatty. It just depends on. They would head towards Beatty for antelope and stuff like that, green water to hunt rabbit. But during the hottest part of the time, they would really never be down in the valley floor. It was always the heat with no electricity and no, so they would go where springs were.
We have, we believe, at least 70 endemic species that only live in the Amargosa Basin. And, all of those species in various degrees are dependent upon groundwater for their survival.
And travel to the springs and stuff. The food, there's plenty of food in their hunting. They managed to accumulate exactly what they needed.
new interests appear, right? We're living through this moment of this, this transition from, a fossil fuel dependent economy to renewables. And as a result, we've seen a couple of threats looming on the horizon for some time. Large scale industrial solar being one, and another one being new forms of extraction, looking for some of these rare earth minerals that, of course, are essential to us making this transition possible.
There's springs everywhere. In my family, they knew where it all was.
And lithium is actually found very commonly in these kind of these basin areas we have in the Mojave Desert. These kind of semi-saturated alkali wetland type places tend to also have this kind of higher concentrations of lithium.
And sometimes when you travel from Death Valley Junction heading towards Shoshone and down that way, sometimes it'll be dry. Sometimes you'll see the Armagosa River, and you'll see it flowing. Sometimes you'll be lucky enough to see that river flowing. There's fish. There's 28 endangered species here. You've got the devil's pupfish, which is only here, no place else, over at Devil's Hole. I think they were saying the other day there's maybe 4 or 5 different pupfish over at Ash Meadows. Mm-hmm. We also over here at Salt Creek, down here in the valley, there's right now you can't go down there because of the Hurricane Hillary, but the pupfish have tripled the amount that's there.
And so about a year ago, we caught wind of a really problematic proposal proposed by a Canadian mining company who was seeking to conduct exploratory drilling for lithium directly against the northern boundary of Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge, which is really the heart of the whole watershed. It's the largest oasis in the Mojave Desert, home to at least 26 species that only live in the refuge. It is this island in the desert, and it's also a place of extreme cultural importance to the tribal communities that have occupied this region since time immemorial.
Yes, Rover Meadows.
Mm-hmm.
They've been trying to come in. It's been about a year we've been fighting them. They were denied. They gave us a project plan, and BLM denied the first one, which is wonderful. They haven't turned another one back in. We've been to Washington, D.C. trying to get a mineral rights. We've talked to Congress.
Ash Meadows, we're told it was a meeting place for the Timbisha-Shoshone, the Chemehuevi, Southern Paiute. It was a place that is still highly regarded for many things, especially the food, the medicine that it produces. And so we saw this proposal and immediately did everything in our power to ensure that a drilling project of this caliber, which was proposing to drill holes within 1,500 feet of some of the largest springs in the refuge, and presented a really direct threat to groundwater needed not only to sustain the refuge, but really to sustain the communities in this part of the watershed.
We started the sacred fire on the water line on May 11th is when we erected the teepee and started the sacred fire. So I was on the front line for a week until the officers showed up on May 19th. Towards evening is when they gave me the temporary restraining order. I believe it was like a week after the temporary restraining order was when I wasn't given the lawsuit. The SLAP lawsuit, it was actually emailed to me. So, and it was just the heads up, from one of I believe it was Max that sent it to me. And so I didn't know about it. And so we have this lawsuit on us, with myself being the only descendant of Oxam that was stated in this SLAP lawsuit. There are other descendants, Dean Barley's, and there was 2 other natives, BC and also Bethany, that were named in the lawsuit, and Max. Wow. And I think it was Paul Cienfuegos.
Yes.
And PTP. Protect Thacker Pass.
We have Pahimaha and the police are returning for arrest for blocking the road.
because to this day, they have never served me the lawsuit, or they have never emailed me the lawsuit. The only lawsuit I've seen is a lawsuit that Max have shared with us. So yeah.
So he got one. He got the actual copy. He was served.
Yeah.
And then on the lawsuit, it mentions you too. So he was calling you and letting you know. Is that it?
Yeah.
Got it.
And then following that.
Wow, that's just unbelievable that, you've been your land for about 10,000 years, and then they come in and they think, now we're going to issue this lawsuit. And basically the point of those slap suits is to shut people up.
Right. Yeah.
So did that surprise you? I mean, it's a lot of money, right, that they're claiming in damages?
It is, yeah. I guess it does surprise me, but then it doesn't scare me though, because I don't think it's really gonna stand. Personally, I think that the only reason why they filed this lawsuit, and the charges in the lawsuit were civil conspiracy, nuisance, trespass, tortious interference, and tortious interference with contractual relations, with prospective economic advantages and unjust enrichment. So, in the TRO, when they filed the TRO, they first off, it was like, they said that, they can pinpoint one particular person, right? So they're saying that in the TRO, there was 4 of us. There was myself, Paul, Max, and Chuck. And so they were in all of the TROs, they stated that we were flying drones really close to them, that the workers feared for their lives, and which was all false allegations, and accusing us of taking diesel from their vehicles, from their equipments. And I'm like, I don't even have a diesel vehicle.
That's odd.
Yeah. And
well, I've seen all the drone footage, and when the drone is close to the workers, they're waving and smiling.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So I said it didn't look like they were in fear for their lives,
No.
Actually, I think they were enjoying it, the attention.
And here in Chimoy Valley, there was a company that came in. It was named Marcos Mining, and they were intending to mine in Chimoy Valley, near Highway 95, and at the bottom of the wash along Highway 95 on the western side of the highway. They were planning to put the world's largest open pit gold mine. And they were also planning to use cyanide leaching for extracting gold. And Chimoy Indian tribe, and I was representative of the tribe, I argued before the powers that be that it's always been told to us, the oral history, traditional new history, that underneath Chimoy Valley is a large underground lake. And we know it's there because we see the water that comes out at the spring at West Well at Hawaii. And that's leading into the Colorado River. So water is still traveling beneath the ground and still interacting. And people never realized that high-level nuclear waste would be able to travel in the water, but I understand that a year after the federal government stopped doing nuclear testing, underground testing, that they had discovered that radioactive nuclides had traveled a mile in the water from where the last blast took place. So to me, that was evident that these things are going to migrate in the water. And also, about contaminants migrating in the water at Beatty, Nevada. The same company that was proposing to do the low-level radioactive waste dump here at Fort Valley had an ongoing operation at Beatty, which was leaking. And that aquifer was leaking contaminants into the stream that led into the town of Beatty, thus contaminating their water. So it's already been proven that, all these things can travel and migrate in the water. So you can put two and two together and think how long would that had taken to get into the aquifer and get into Lake Matthews in Southern California.
Right, because the Colorado River is one way that Southern California gets drinking water. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. And they're looking at other ways of extracting other waters, but the Native American Land Conservancy is on a mission to protect all the springs in Southern California. And we've been locating and identifying springs that have cultural significance, Native American occupation, sacred sites, and things like this. And I'm very proud to say that we are moving forward with the acquisition of a spring in the Tehachapi Mountains. And who knows, maybe another month or two it'll be in our possession, I hope.
Well, you are mentioning the Kwaitu people as being related to the Chemehuevis, and you said that they're up in Tehachapi, or historically. So can you tell me a little bit about the connection there?
Well, the language connection is very strong because the way that I heard them speak is the way our people over here along the river, the Chemehuevi, speak, the same dialect. But if we go north to southern Nevada, the dialect changes a little bit. But the Kwaitus are related back to us because the Nuwu traveled all throughout that area, and they went into the Tehachapi Mountains to seeking shelter, refuge. And the same with the Chemehuevis and Southern Paiutes that settled out in the desert at remote areas. They were seeking sanctuary, refuge, trying to survive. Because you got to realize, what was happening back in the 1850s with the payment of the scalps from Indians by non-Indians, being compensated by the federal government and the state of California. And I am happy and proud to say that the last three governors have identified this during their Native American days. And but there's still not enough that's been done on behalf of the state or the federal government to identify what has happened to all the tribes, all the other tribes that people don't even know about, that were in California before the coming of the white man, and how a lot of these tribes have been wiped out, massacred, and lands taken and stolen, resources taken and stolen. For our people in Nuwu, Southern Paiutes, in Utah, all the way down, the Mormons took all of the sacred places of the indigenous peoples, all the springs, all the different gardens that they had, and took control of it. And all the Indians were forced out of the area. And I think our people were forced into the desert just trying to stay ahead of the encroachment. We're looking at death and destruction by the Christians, as well as by the Mormons, as well as by the federal government, as well as by who else? Anybody else that wanted, and whoever else wanted payment in California for Indian land, they go out and kill the Indians. And this is what happened up at Rabbit Springs, is that those Chemehuevis that were massacred there were paid. The people that killed them were compensated.
Prophecies such as from the Hopi and the Maya and various other indigenous people speak of time when humanity would face significant trials.
Really what we generate is we generate steam. We said no.
It still happened. Those dams went up, and now we have to live with that.
This right here was destroyed, and right across number one was destroyed too.
But I do believe that consulting people of the local tribe is so important.
When is going to get through your head? Do we have to fine you for $1 billion?
We're talking about a history of a massacre of the last stand of the Chumash people.
Pull the tops tighter.
Right here?
Yeah, pull the tops tighter.
Or $10 billion. I think that's a pretty number.
Right here, this used to be the sun. You like the sun? What you destroyed? You see what you guys are doing? Bunch of idiots.
To course correct that would be good to have that be done in the manner of relationship to all things, all life force.
And so I used the example of the Catholic Church. I want to build a pipeline through the Vatican Mall. Well, it's really not a part of the Vatican.
Rover metals. They've been trying to come in. There's fish. There's 28 endangered species here. It's been about a year we've been fighting them.
The teachings of the environmental degradation, social upheaval, and spiritual disconnection.
History becomes religion. Ancient and important architecture that is part of our political or religious history becomes sacred.
The native people working here, our hearts are broken.
Gods through the mountains were created like you and I. It was created, we were created. They have no right to go and destroy it for the gold.
To produce 1 ton of lithium, you need 500,000 gallons of water.
I have learned that the challenges have seen, many tests, but as opportunities for growth and renewal, and also for relationships.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program. Word has just been received from the Atomic Energy Commission.
Used to be one time that you could drink the water out of any of these springs. Some of the big pollution is radioactive fallout from nuclear weapons testing.
We have the power to speak up for our people.
Woke up in prayer, woke up in sweat, woke up in a little bit of tears.
The whole world was started from energy. That's in the tribal belief that energy was from fire.
And that's what I'm seeing now through these prophecies, is the renewing and rebirthing of relationships that have been formulating over the last 50 years. And here we are now at the rebirthing.
And I'd like to also thank the energy of the keepers of the wisdom.
They sang some songs to clear any negative impacts.
My name is Ivan Lookinghorse from Pine River Reservation. I'm here at the Wiles 12 mentioned in Rapid City. I'm working as a superconductor, which is done through the hemp process of it, and that there is get these scientific breakthroughs, electrical engineering. We know that lithium is very poisonous, and they're mining it everywhere, and it's contaminating a lot of creeks and aquifers, and so. If we are able to bring this technology and take it to these places, there's already enough lithium on top of the earth, to keep us in solar panels for a long time. And batteries that they're making from lithium don't need to continue anymore. The natural ways of making batteries now that through the hemp process, can stop a lot of that mining. What I'm trying to present is some of the things that we want to work on that will help our nations become self-sufficient and combat these mining companies that are on our lands. Stop the mining and stop the contamination, stop the poisoning, because if we don't do that, all our creeks and all our future of our children is going to be at stake. Of our people have a lot of cancer of the liver and the kidneys, and so there are poisons in our drinking water as it is from way back in homestake mining, and it hasn't been cleared up yet. And every time it floods or rains, it brings back the mixture again. So so a lot of our people have been dying of that. And so this new technology that we're also going to implement has a way of purifying the water before you get it into the intake. So there's some new technologies that will be implemented to the tribe so they can get cleaner water to their table drinking faucets. We're working on everything that we can because I know that some of us, we don't have a long time on this earth, and we need to make decisions and take the action today, because otherwise no action will be done. We waited for a long enough time now, over 100 years, to hopefully we can make something happen where our generation goes. Okay, I'd like to thank a lot of people that have been working at doing the things for our people, that they can be self-sufficient, they can stand on their own 2 feet, they can have their language, their songs. Everybody has a part in helping our people go back to who they are, their identity. And so when we can help each other and we can work towards a future of having good food, good water, good clean air, and good land, and good jobs, and good high-paying jobs, and be able to be self-sufficient with our food. We have a lot of food resources on our lands, because we didn't make those boundaries. The United States made those boundaries in 1851, and so this is our nation that we have to stand up for, and hopefully our people can wake up before things have come to an end on reservations, and if you become self-sufficient, action has always been how I've been working throughout my lifetime, and also working at helping with the sun dances. So all these things that I do, and always teamwork in it, and I like to make sure that people are well taken care of, and things are going to go good, and so I hope to keep on working and keep on doing the things I'm doing for the people, and the other ones that are encouraged, that are people that want to work for your people, just get a hold of me or see what is happening around Indian country in how we are producing some of the technical knowledge that is going to help us go into the future. And so thank you.
My name is Sherry Lewis, Makpia Washtewia. I'm Lipan Apache Kolotakikan. So we just started Goodway Village to encompass secular economy on our reservations. We can create a clean battery out of hemp. Is real green technology, teaching these skills, which is aligned with our hearts and our minds, and elevating the consciousness for the preservation of humanity. And through that, we have also started something called hemp batteries. So they're made out of graphene and aluminum. The graphene is extracted from the hemp. The aluminum is actually recycled aluminum from the ocean, from landfills. That's how we're getting our supply of aluminum as well. And what this is about is actually creating a non-toxic battery. And if any materials that do have to be used can be used through recycled material. Green technology isn't really green technology. We're connected to the electric grid. What happens when the electric grid shifts? What happens when we are completely dependent on other sources? There are many other options and alternatives that we can use going to create jobs in our indigenous communities that are aligned with our hearts and our mind and getting us out of modern day genocide. It's actually rising our people, and in that way also creating jobs for our next generations. The mining of lithium has caused so much destruction, and the green energy concept is actually very destructive. We have lithium being mined in so many places, even with our sacred areas.
Abundant and renewable. Hemp is a fast-growing renewable crop that requires fewer resources, like water and pesticides, compared to other crops, like cotton and traditional lithium mining. Hemp is biodegradable. Unlike lithium-ion batteries, which involves toxic materials and are difficult to recycle, hemp-based batteries can potentially reduce environmental impact through biodegradability. Hemp is low-cost production. Hemp is relatively inexpensive to grow and process compared to high costs associated with mining and refining lithium. Hemp is an incredible versatile plant, and its fibers, seeds, and oil can be used to create a wide variety of products. Here are some of the examples, items that can be made from hemp: textiles and clothing, construction materials, paper products, bioplastics, health and beauty products, food and beverages, energy and fuel, household items, medicinal and wellness products. We will be following along with the timeline and her story with Greenway Village and hemp batteries. Stand up, stand in. We are Creative Frontline.
I'm Robert Lundahl. I stand up for human rights and the environment.
I am Tracker Gina Marie Rangel Quinones. Let us know whose voice you want to hear on the front line. Where we connect all people where they stand on the front line.